Earth. I'm Spencer Callahan. I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7970.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. The games were brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. We got our normal Tuesday staples. Glenn West coming up 30 minutes from right now talking LSU. Sharif Ishak at the bottom of hour number 2 talking about the New Orleans Saints. Alvin Kamara maybe a holdout. What does that mean financially for him? We'll talk a little bit about that in the first hour. Paul Skenes is cooking in the big leagues. We talk about that. Dylan Cruz moving addresses. We'll talk about that as well. And very excited to welcome Derek Curiel to the show at 2 o'clock, 1 hour from right now. Derek Curiel, outfielder from Southern California, who announced earlier this week that he is going to pull his name out of the Major League Baseball draft, and he will be attending LSU for summer school and then into his freshman fall. So he'll jump on to talk about that process, and I'm curious what his relationship is with a lot of guys in this class. A lot of those guys are right now out at the MLB Draft Combine. I saw Jared Jones launching balls 440 feet at the Combine. So a lot to get to with Derek Curiel coming up an hour from right now. They're cranking up another elimination game up in Omaha, Nebraska right about now. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Hope your work week's off to a good start and appreciate you hanging out with us here on this Tuesday. I've mentioned this quite a few times over the last 24 hours, and I will continue to mention it until something changes. Something's got to change. We go back to Friday. First game. It's Virginia and North Carolina. Unless you played North Carolina, you beat me. I'm not going to think too highly of you. I like Brian O'Connor at Virginia. I'm pulling for the Hoos in that game. Vance Honeycutt walks them off 3-2 North Carolina. Nightcap, Florida State, Tennessee. Clearly, I'm pulling against Tony Vitello and Tennessee. They get down 4 runs. They come all the way back, and they beat Florida State in walk-off fashion on Friday, so I'm 0 for 2. Saturday, to the ball yard. Well, we've got NC State and Kentucky. I'm clearly pulling against the SEC here. Give me the Wolfpack. They lose 5-4 in a walk-off. I can't stay up late enough for Texas A&M and Florida, but I'm pulling for Florida in that game. I can't have Texas A&M win it. Jay Slavilet robs a home run. Texas A&M wins. I am 0-4 through 2 days. Sunday's action. North Carolina and Tennessee in the winner's bracket. Okay, I'm not thrilled with North Carolina, but I still want them to beat the SEC team. They don't. 6-1 final. Drew Beam shuts them down. Cakewalk for the Vols. And then you got Virginia and Florida State. I like Brian O'Connor. I'm still probably pulling for Virginia in that game. Nope. Florida State wins it 7-3. Virginia's going home. That's 0-6. Monday's action commences in the afternoon. Florida and NC State. I can get Florida out of the College World Series. Don't have to worry about Kevin O'Sullivan and them winning. Nope. They beat NC State 5-4. Caglione 3-run homer. That's 0-7. And the nightcap in the winner's bracket. I don't like pulling for Nick Ningione, but I've got to do it because they're playing A&M. 5-1 cakewalk for the Aggies. Laviolette might have pulled a hamstring. They don't have Shane Sadeo. They don't have Braden Montgomery, and they're not even breaking a sweat.
Texas
11
A&M!
hits. That's just awful. I don't want to hear that sound effect.
Texas A&M!
Very bad. Very bad. Very bad. That, my friends, is how you go 0-8 in your rooting interest through 4 days of the College World Series.
I told you it was possible.
I knew it was possible. I didn't want it to happen.
It happened.
It's not good. The winner's bracket currently is Tennessee and A&M, and I want to talk about that A&M performance yesterday because I was very upfront Probably late April, early May, when you kind of understand who most teams are. Sure, LSU got hot late. There are certainly teams that play better at a certain point in the calendar, but at that point, you've kind of got a large enough sample size to kind of know who the real contenders are and what kind of style of baseball they play. And when I looked at Texas A&M, I looked at a team that was winning a lot of series. I looked at a team that I thought had a phenomenal top of the order: Gavin Grahovic, Jay Shavulette, Braden Montgomery, and then they had still some other guys that were further down the line, the Hayden Schatz and guys that were really contributing. And I liked that lineup, really almost 1 through 9. And I like Evan Aschenbeck. He's been nails for them for 2 years coming out of the bullpen, and you've always got that guy. But I just looked at them and I said, I don't know that I'm that impressed with that starting rotation. It doesn't pop to me. There's not great stuff. And these are the same cast of characters, a lot of whom were out there last year, and they couldn't pitch a lick. And Ryan Prager was at the front of that list. And even when A&M left Baton Rouge, keep in mind LSU beat Ryan Prager in Game 1 and knocked him around a little bit. I said, that's just not the guy that I want facing other aces. And Ryan Prager doesn't really care what I think, because in the regional, he went out there and was dominant, and last night was even better. Now, he got hit in the Super. No question about it. Had a bad outing last week in the Super Regional. And that sometimes can derail the season. Your ace goes out there and doesn't have it, you can be on the brink of elimination in a hurry. And that could have happened last week with Prager because he didn't get out of the second inning. But last night, against a quality Kentucky lineup that takes a lot of pitches, puts a lot of pressure on you, doesn't strike out a ton, can hit the ball hard. It's not the most powerful lineup, but they can hit. They couldn't do anything against Ryan Prager. And he got into the 7th inning with a no-hitter and ended up giving up a couple of hits there in the 7th and exiting the ball game. But at that point, A&M was in great shape. Stewart got the ball, went the rest of the way, and only allowed the 1 run. 95 pitches for Prager, 65 of them for strikes, 6 2/3 innings, 2-hit baseball, 4 strikeouts. Again, not dominant, but with that lineup, even without Montgomery, that lineup, if you just hold the rope, they should be okay. He did much more than that, and that's me getting it wrong. I mean, technically, they could have lost last weekend when he went 2 1/3, and I would have gone, yeah, he's exactly right. He wasn't an ace, and that's why they weren't going to make it all the way through. But they have at this point. This is the first Texas A&M team ever to get through 2-0 into the winner's bracket in Omaha. And it becomes very, very difficult, as we well know, once you get into the loser's bracket, to claw your way back. LSU's done it twice. They did it in 2017 against Oregon State, and they did it again in 2023 against Wake Forest. Both times against the number 1 overall seed, who at that point was very clearly the best team in the country. And LSU found a way to get it done. And for A&M, they're going to have to win one of these next 2 without Prager. But Cortez is ready to go, and Aschenbeck's ready to go. And at some point, if they can get a lead, they're going to ask one or both of those 2 guys to take it the distance. And that's a formula to get things done. At this point, it stands to reason you could look at them. Well, there's no Montgomery, there's no Sadeo. Now Laviolette's pulled his hamstring. Like, they're in big trouble. But they've got other guys, and now they've got a cushion. And really, pitching is every bit as important as what you've got in the box. And they've got a lot of pitching. So, and for Kentucky, they're going to have to hit their way through it. A&M's sitting pretty, and Tennessee is sitting pretty. And right now, as we sit here, there's significant amount of reason to believe the national championship series is going to be Texas A&M and Tennessee from up in Omaha. And I'm sure I'll find a way to stomach it and go watch those 2 or 3 games. But it's going to be difficult. In any event, there's been a lot of drama, a lot of one-run games, and it's been a really, really good College World Series to this point. All the losers have to come back today and go again. Florida State and North Carolina just underway. Florida State continues to go out there in softball uniforms every single game. They've got on gold pants today, which look awful. They'll play North Carolina as the 8 seed versus the 4 seed. These teams, interestingly enough, even though their ACC teams have not met yet this season, didn't play in the regular season, did not play in the ACC tournament, but the loser of that one will go home. The winner of that one will move on and play Tennessee. And then Kentucky and Florida will play tonight if they can get it in based on weather. The forecast for Omaha this evening is really, really bad. A lot of storms apparently going to roll through. They did start that game back on Saturday night at 10 o'clock at night. They'll try to get it in if they possibly can. But if you're sitting here and you're A&M, you realize that Kentucky and Florida may have to really compromise their pitching by playing late into the night tonight, or maybe even 2 games in a day moving forward against Texas A&M. So it's a tough spot for those guys to be in with the way the weather looks and the way that their pitching is going to have to work. But those 2 teams have good offenses and can get hot and get rolling. That's going to have to be the hope. But somebody from the SEC is coming out of that bracket. You got a chance for an ACC team to get through here, whoever wins this ball game this afternoon from up there at the Chuck in Omaha. Baseball breakdowns all season long, brought to you by Pluckers. 2 locations. Nicholson just south of campus. Bluebonnet right in front of the Mall of Louisiana. If you want to watch some college baseball over the next 5-6 days, you can certainly do that over at each Pluckers location. And if you're looking for something to do tonight, and they don't even play baseball in Omaha, you can come to Sports Trivia, which we're always fired up to bring you each and every Tuesday at 8:30 at the Nicholson location. So, appreciate Pluckers for giving their breakdowns all season long and sponsoring our Tuesday shows. Glenn West talking some LSU coming up in 20 minutes. When we come back, Alvin Kamara looks like he might be a holdout, but financially, how feasible is that? And what might the Saints decide to do with all of it? We're talking about it coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Vaughn and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. David Vaughn and his team make it so easy. It starts with a free consultation. You go to the website, OneBathAndClosets.com. You get that free consultation. Have their team come in. It starts with a questionnaire. Then they determine what they're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, what the situation is currently in your home. And then they go to work. And it's the only call that you make. You don't have to call 4 different contractors for 4 different aspects of the job. David Vaughn and his team are licensed, bonded, and insured, and they're going to handle this thing from start to finish. And I can promise you this, they're not going to do it to get through, collect your money, and go to the next job just to come back 3 weeks later and fix something that didn't work. No. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind, whether it's a full-scale bathroom renovation remodel or maybe it's something as simple as a tub-to-shower conversion. They do that kind of stuff all the time. And if you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sends you to One Bath and Closets, immediately $1,000 off of your job. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online, onebathandclosets.com.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Musco.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. So it's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150, $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150, and all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
For the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch, live at Roca Pizzeria on Government Street in Mid-City. 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Wednesday, Roca Pizzeria. Live at Lunch, live at Roca, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Glenn West with us in about 15 minutes talking LSU. We'll talk a little black and gold here. The story from Saints mandatory minicamp last week started centering around Marshawn Lattimore and whether or not he would show up. And he did. And then you've got minicamp, which is the underwear Olympics. Guys out there running around, no contact, not rushing the passer. There's not a ton that can be gleaned from the on-field stuff. We've talked about a little bit of it and heard some sound from it, but that's not really the story. And then the story became, at the end of minicamp, Alvin Kamara leaving the final day and his camp confirming that the situation is involving his contract, which has 2 years on it, technically, but the Saints are not going to pay him $25 million in 2025. Not a single dollar of that is guaranteed. So the thought is that basically this is the last year of his deal for all intents and purposes. So he's got a decision to make, and the Saints have a decision to make, and we can put some now actual dollar figures to it. Now keep in mind, as a base for this discussion, that Alvin Kamara has earned on the field more than $43 million in the NFL. That is to say nothing of how much he's made off the field. So he's made a lot of money. The question is, how much is he willing to pay back to the NFL in an effort to get more? And when I say that, I mean in fines. If Alvin Kamara decides not to show up for training camp, which starts at the end of next month, every day he is going to incur a mandatory fine that cannot be rescinded of $50,000. Now, the Saints have 21 days of camp practices scheduled. So you miss 21 times $50,000, you're talking about north of $1 million that Alvin Kamara would pay in fines in an effort to force the Saints' hands. And I just don't know if that's going to have a huge impact on the Saints. There's just not a huge market for running backs that are 28, 29, 30 years old, which is what you would be paying Kamara on. And last week we gave you the comp that the Kamara camp is going to give you with Christian McCaffrey, who just signed that mega deal, but they're just not apples to apples. They play the same position. Their styles are similar. One was the offensive MVP of the league last year, and the other one has been hurt and suspended and not as productive. And you can say it's because the Saints offense hasn't been as productive, or the Saints quarterback play hasn't been good, or the Saints offensive line isn't great. Well, guess what? The same quarterback's still there. The same offensive line is still there in the middle, and they're putting in some real questionable pieces on the outside. It's not like it's a whole new world. So the Saints have to do what's in their best interest. And it's not in their best interest to go, you know what? Christian McCaffrey did get a lot of money. And Alvin, you scored a ton of touchdowns back in like 2019, 2020. That was awesome. We should just extend this contract by a year and give you some more guaranteed money. That's just not the situation the Saints are in. So I just don't know if they're going to flinch. There was a point at some juncture over the last decade where sports franchises stopped paying players for what they have done and began to pay them based on what they expect them to do. It was sometime after Albert Pujols signed a bajillion-dollar deal to go be a geriatric with the Anaheim Angels. And everybody went, that's not a really good idea. And it's still not. So Alvin is going to have to determine how realistic he thinks it is if he comes to camp and holds out. How many $50,000 a day fines are you willing to eat? You want to just push it for 4 days, $200,000 down the drain, you'll still survive, but see if the Saints flinch? Or you just want to go, I've gotten $43 million from him. I'm going to get another one this year. Keep in mind, his game checks are only about $60,000. You're forfeiting $50,000 every day you're not there. So you're not making up for it real quick once you go play. It's just a sad reality. I'm not saying that I don't understand where Alvin Kamara comes from here, but it's a sad reality. Like, there's just not a lot of running backs at his age that are getting new deals. Yeah, Frank Gore did it forever, and Mark Ingram had a great run, and Christian McCaffrey just got paid, and you can point to some individuals' contracts around the league. And I'm not here to tell you that Alvin Kamara is completely done as an NFL football player. I just don't think he's the same player he was 5 years ago. The explosive plays have not been there. And the Saints are in a transition period where they're trying to reshuffle the books, and going right back to the stuff that put them in a compromised situation is not a great idea. So in my opinion, how this thing resolves itself, I think Alvin Kamara is going to be in camp pretty quick. I don't think the Saints are going to say, you know what, we'll sprinkle some more money on the back end of that contract, because that sprinkling is then again taking away from what the Saints can do with that money in 2025. And while they're not going to operate fully bailing on 2024, I, as an analyst talking about this team, am fully accepting of the fact that I don't think the 2024 Saints are going to be great, and I'm trying to get to the next great Saints team. And everything I do has to be geared towards getting to the next great Saints team and to the next great Saints team. It's just not. So I think everyone's going to come to that realization, and I think he's going to end up in camp, and I think he's going to play for this deal, and then I think his time with the Saints is going to be done. Now, if he comes out there in this new offense and sets the world on fire the first 9 weeks of the season, and the Saints want to sit down and go, okay, now we see this is what we want to do. We've got Clint Kubiak here. Derek Carr's more comfortable. He's going to be back next year, and you look really good in this. Then we'll talk about next year, because the situation will have changed. The situation is not going to change in August. It's not. It's not going to change if he holds out. It's not going to change if he has a couple of good practices or a good preseason game. It will change around Halloween or November if he's uber productive and the Saints feel like he can really help them for a good team next year.
Yeah, but that to me, it's like, do you really think that even if he does have a solid year, that's another added, that's just another year older that he is, closer to 30, and then it's like, okay, well, do we even though he had a great season, do we still want to pay him more to come back for at least another year?
It always depends on the price. If you can agree to a price, yes. If you can't, okay, then you void the contract after next year. You don't owe him that $25 million is not guaranteed. He can test the free agent waters if he wants to. And that may happen as well. But that's all next summer's issue, next spring's issue. It's just not going to be resolved in Southern California in this summer. I don't see that as a reasonable decision for the New Orleans Saints. And I think it's interesting that you're talking about a guy that that could sit out $50,000 a day. He's got money, but I just don't know how eager he's going to be to continually light that money on fire, trying to get the Saints to come to the table for a 28-year-old running back. I don't see it. So we'll see. Give us your thoughts in the comments below on the YouTube video. If you're looking for Saints content, you can always find it for us at Hunt on Saints. Saints talk all year long. We'll get Sharif Ishak's thoughts on all of this at the bottom of hour number 2. That's about an hour from right now. Also, Derek Curiel, LSU baseball signee who has pulled his name out of the MLB draft. He will be with us 35 minutes from right now at straight up 2 o'clock. Very much looking forward to that conversation with Derek. Always looking forward to our conversations with Glenn West, which we will have here coming up in about 5 minutes. We'll talk some LSU baseball and football with Glenn coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to a championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. In partnership with LeBears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150. $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile...
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Shea Dixon after a busy recruiting weekend, and LSU transfer pitcher Zach Cohen. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Chugging right along here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Florida State strikes first up in Omaha. They lead North Carolina 1-0 in an elimination game between ACC rivals. The winner of that one will get the Tennessee Vols. They'll have to beat them twice over the next 2 days. Let's talk some LSU. Glenn West, Go 24/7 senior writer, joining us every Tuesday here. Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing well, Hunt. How about yourself?
Doing quite well. Let's talk about LSU baseball in the transfer portal since we last spoke, and we got some news earlier today that LSU secured a commitment from Chris Stanfield over at Auburn. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good addition to the outfield. I mean, when you look at what's coming back with Jake Brown and Ashton Larson, two kind of young pillars for the program, I think it really helps that you add some experience, some SEC experience in a guy like Stanfield, who's played a little bit at Auburn and was a highly touted recruit. You know, this was a top 100 player a couple of years ago and has a lot of speed, a lot of toolsy kind of traits to him that kind of remind me, I guess, a little bit of what you lost with Paxton Kling. Maybe you kind of get with a guy like Stanfield in terms of just a guy who maybe hasn't fulfilled his full potential yet, but it has a lot of potential and a lot of traits that I think could be useful at LSU. So we'll see kind of if they're able to unlock maybe more of the hitting skills. I think that's probably where you want to see the most development come from him. But certainly a really good addition and somebody that I think LSU is going to have to watch in the draft. But if they get him to campus, I think will really be a useful piece next year.
How would you kind of handicap the outfield situation as we sit here today? You've added Stanfield. Derek Curiel will be on. He's going to come on the show here in 30 minutes. You've got Larson and Fry and Pearson and Brown as some guys who should be coming back potentially. Like, what do you make of that level of talent in the outfield? Is it enough?
I think it's enough, especially if you get a guy like Pearson back from the draft. I mean, we got to wait to see kind of what happens there. Maybe he gets a number that he just kind of can't turn down. But, you know, I think certainly that when you talk about, you know, Ethan Fry and certainly Pearson coming back into the fold as well, there's a lot of numbers there. I mean, that's 5 or 6 guys that we just rattled off, and there's only 3 that you can play in the outfield. And I think LSU kind of settled in last year on the Brown Larson deal towards the end of the season. So I think you've got pretty much 2 of those positions locked up. So you've got now, I think, you know, as many as 4 guys that would be battling for one spot. So I do think the outfield, if, you know, kind of the numbers hold, is in a really strong spot next year for LSU numbers-wise. And I think they have a nice little blend there of talent, potential, and experience at the SEC level.
Look at Luis Hernandez that they brought in. Obviously, the numbers from Indiana State, good on the power front. Do you expect him to kind of be the guy who steps in for potentially Jared Jones and Tommy White?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to hope to get him here. I don't think it's a surefire bet that he gets here. I think LSU probably wouldn't have brought him in if they didn't think they had a decent shot at getting him to campus. But certainly when you talk about a guy who's hit 20-plus homers, 75-plus RBIs in a season, I think his batting average was up around 360 as well. I mean, that's the guy that can hit, and that's the guy that I think those are numbers that can translate to the SEC. And I think he's somebody that you need, because I think you look at kind of the trajectory of this, you know, off season so far. It's been very right-handed pitching heavy, and then, you know, but one of the other big tools that they need is some power hitting. When you talk about losing, you know, Travinsky and Jones and potentially and obviously Tommy White as well, like that's a good chunk of your power from last year that, you know, could be out the door. So hopefully, you know, you get Hernandez on board, and then maybe see if you can't go grab, you know, 1 or 2 other power hitters to kind of help complement the roster.
Were you surprised Brady Neal left?
I don't think so. I mean, we'd heard he was a name that could be potentially entering for a couple weeks now. At the same time, it's one that you kind of hate to lose, just because of the kind of the player that he was thought to be coming in, and just the fact that he was injured so much his first couple of years. I don't think he really had a chance to develop into the player that he can be. So you don't like it on that front. But listen, at the same time, they're bringing in a guy like Blaze Priester, from the JUCO level. They've got Aaron Beatty, who's a young high school freshman that could be really interesting if he makes it to campus. So you've got those two. Could potentially look to add another catcher in the portal as well. And I think when you look at kind of just the trajectory there, it was no guarantee that Brady Neal would be the day one starter next year if he were to come back. So I think it's it made sense for him to maybe move on, but at the same time, it's one that you don't really like to see go just because of the youth that's still there, the potential that's there. I understand that he only hit about 140 or so in SEC play this last season, but I still think there's some unlocked tools there that he should be able to get a little bit better handle of moving on to another program.
I'm just reading tea leaves here and just kind of projecting what I think Jay thinks, and you've spent enough time with him to kind of understand the way that he ticks as well. But I just think that he's a little stunned that Cam Johnson, Paxton Kling, Brady Neal aren't going to be on the team next year. Not that after what we saw from them last year, they would be some sort of All-Americans, but like I would think this time last year he thought they would be kind of the pillars of the team, and to have them leave because of the system that's in place where LSU has been so good at getting guys out of the transfer portal, and now they're having some of these highly touted guys that they tried to get through the draft leaving immediately. I just got to think he's a little stunned with how this has played out.
There were a few quotes that he had last week that made me kind of raise my eyebrows. I think one of them was, he thought he kind of outwardly spoke to us and said that this is going to look a little different than I thought maybe even 18 months ago this would look. And I think the way that he kind of backed that up was by saying, or by kind of reiterating the fact that this is a different age that we're living in. This is a guy who has really prided himself on being able to recruit elite high school talent, but then also have them for 3 or 4 years at a time to develop them. And, the fact of the matter is you're just not able to do that these days. And, if guys aren't seeing the field, year one, year two as consistently as they might have liked, particularly guys like Neal and Kling that came in with such, high regard, Johnson, of course, as well is thrown into that mix as well, then, I think they kind of look around and they see what kind of other options are out there. And, that's something that I think, certainly Jay Johnson understands is a part of the game now. And he's got to, I think, recruit to that and recruit to the possibility that you might not have guys for 3 or 4 years if they're not playing right away. So learning experience for sure. I would probably tend to agree with you that he was maybe a little thrown off that all of those guys left at the same time. But at the same time, I think he's also done a really nice job of starting to replenish this roster. And, when you look at this freshman class that's coming in, the JUCO signings that they have, there's a lot to be excited about going into next year, and they're certainly not done in the transfer portal either.
Yeah, I think that's going to continue because you got some folks that have been in Omaha that may want to jump in as well. That's just kind of the way the thing goes. You got a couple more weeks for guys to get in the transfer portal. Glenn West, our guest here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline, senior writer over at Go 24/7. All your LSU team coverage as well as recruiting. He and Sonny do an awesome job. And, I'm curious, you were out at camp last week looking at some recruiting on the football side of things. Where do you think things stand as we enter the middle of the summer here for LSU's 2024-2025 signing class?
Yeah, so LSU's wrapping up a bunch of their camps here that they have. They bring in a lot of high school prospects. They bring in a lot of official visitors during this time, during the month of June. So all that's wrapping up. I think you could start to see some dominoes fall. Just one guy to maybe keep an eye on Thursday. Offensive lineman named Derek Curiel is announcing his commitment. Just coming off an official from LSU, also visited I believe it was Arkansas last weekend. So he's somebody to certainly keep an eye on when you announce that you're dropping a commitment video on a few days after being on LSU's campus. I think you have to like LSU's chances there. We'll see kind of though how it falls. But they've had a bunch of these guys on campus. They've really focused heavily on the defensive line, on the secondary with a lot of the official visitors they've brought in. Wide receiver has been a very heavy position that they've brought in as well. So, this next month of July, you kind of enter a little bit of a dead period, and then you kind of cap it off with the Bayou Splash deal that they use at the end of every summer. But good to see some dominoes start to fall here over the next couple weeks and add to that 11 committed players that they already have for 2025.
It's one of those things where everything kind of lined up for Crooney here because that's an Arkansas kid. Sam Pittman's position is offensive line, but he's kind of on tenuous spot there. Brad Davis has been at Arkansas in the past. Got a lot of really good things going at LSU, and it just feels like that's one where you're probably going to go up and steal one that Arkansas usually does a pretty good job in state. There aren't that many guys they have to focus on, and they usually do a pretty good job with them. But right now, there's just not a lot to sell in Fayetteville, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, and look, LSU, what have they shown here over the last couple of years under Davis? That they are going to recruit the offensive line and develop those guys to send them off to the NFL. I mean, you could be looking at 4 draft picks next year that are on this offensive line right now. So, LSU's done a really nice job at that position. You could very much argue it's been the best recruited position since Brian Kelly got here. And I think they're in store for another big class with Tyler Miller, with Brett Bordelon, with Devin Harper. Those are 3 guys that are already on board and could be looking to add more here in the very near future.
And that offensive line that you were talking about, that I have 4 guys drafted, they're going to be blocking for a running back room that now includes John Emery since last we spoke. Were you surprised to see him come back, and what kind of help can he give LSU coming off an injury?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Obviously, he tore that ACL back in November, so he's probably going to be pushing it in terms of the availability at the beginning of the season. Everything we've heard says that John Emery's ahead of schedule on his recovery. I really like bringing him back. I mean, look, if LSU was not going to go into the portal this spring and get a running back, just kind of given the situation, you've only got 3 that you can really count on going into the fall. That was kind of pushing it in terms of guys, that you need some more help there. You need some more depth there, and I think that Emery gives you that. He's been in the system. He knows the coaching staff well, and I think he'll be able to fit right back in perfectly. And hopefully, this can be a story that we're talking about at the end of the season as a guy who contributed maybe more than people expected, kind of coming back here. I think that this can be a really fun story to kind of follow into 2024, and obviously there's going to be a lot of people rooting for Emery to have a really nice last season here.
Who's going to win the College World Series?
It's hard to go against Tennessee right now. Those guys look really good. I would probably put my money on Tennessee. A&M's looking really nice as well, but I think my 2 coming in were UNC and Tennessee, and I think those are kind of the 3 that I'm looking at, but probably Tennessee.
That would stink. I would hate it a lot, but it is what it is. Glenn, what you got?
It's what it is.
It is what it is. We'll talk next week, Glenn. Thanks, man.
All right, thanks, Hunt.
He's Glenn West, senior writer over Go 24/7. I don't disagree with him, by the way, but it doesn't make it any better. It's just not good. So we'll see. ACC elimination game going on right now. It is Florida State and North Carolina. The wind is blowing real hard in Omaha today. I didn't see which way it was blowing, but those flags are absolutely ripping right now up there at Charles Schwab Field. That's some weather coming in, may compromise the game this evening, but we'll just have to see. Still plenty to get to on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're going to talk to Derek Curiel coming up in 15 minutes from right now. We'll chat with him about his decision to pull out of the Major League Baseball draft. Interestingly enough, he was high school teammates with Mikey Romero, who was in LSU signing class 2 years ago, ended up being a first-round pick of the Red Sox. He's now in high A ball, and I'm curious if there was any discussion between those two, being from the same high school, kind of being really, really highly thought of players. Curiel's played for Team USA. I want to talk about that. Some of the guys in this class that he may be close with, and what those conversations are like. So excited to chat with Derek Curiel coming up at 2 o'clock. Sharif Ishak talking some Saints at 2:30 as well. So we got lots and lots to do. We're going to close out hour number 1 with some big news for Paul Skenes and Dylan Cruz on different levels. We'll talk about that as we close out hour number 1 next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this summer for exciting live sports action. We got the biggest screens around, and ESPN Bet is live in Louisiana. Plus, Pin Play Rewards members can win up to $500 in Pin Cash every single week. So visit pinplaysports.com/cover5 today and register for your chance to play and win. You're not a member? No big deal. Just get the Pin Play app today. LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino, your live sports headquarters. Bring your crew for all the action. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150. $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. So it's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart...
Join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch, live at Roca Pizzeria on Government Street in Mid-City. 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Wednesday, Roca Pizzeria. Live at Lunch, live at Roca, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Last year at this time, LSU was up in Omaha fighting for a national championship. They would, of course, get that national championship. And two of the really big pieces of said national championship were Dylan Cruz and Paul Skenes, both of whom were in the news yesterday. Dylan Cruz called up to from AA Harrisburg to AAA in the Washington Nationals system. This season, at age 22, Dylan Cruz has played 51 games at AA Harrisburg, 274 batting average, 50 strikeouts, a little high on that number, just 5 home runs, had 38 driven in, but obviously they felt good enough with his progress and his OPS nearing 800 in those 51 games to send him up to AAA. It's not bad numbers by any stretch of the imagination for Cruz, but certainly not dominating at that level. So I think that he's probably going to finish this year in AAA. That's my assumption. I don't know that won't change if he goes nuts and they want to call him up in September. I don't think that's out of the question at all. Just kind of my guess on the trajectory right now is that they'll let him finish the year in AAA and then potentially bring him up with the opening day crew for next year. But we'll see. It just depends on how he swings the bat. But again, he was in Harrisburg for 51 games, hit .274 with 5 home runs. He had 11 doubles. Stolen bases, had 15 steals. That's really good at this point in the season for Dylan Cruz, and we know he's going to play a good defense there in center field. So he'll be in the leadoff spot in AAA tonight. That's really, really good news for Dylan Cruz. Shout out to the GOAT for moving up to AAA. Paul Skenes, he's been pretty good. He's made 7 starts thus far. His 7th one was last night, and he went out there against the Giants and was fantastic once again. He goes, that was against Cincinnati last night. 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 run. It was earned, 7 strikeouts, and a walk. That's been so impressive. He has not walked multiple batters in any of his outings. He's up above 6.5 strikeouts just about every single time. And for his 7 starts, if you extrapolate them all out, you're talking about 39 1/3 innings, just 32 hits, only 10 earned runs. That gives him a quality ERA of just 2.29. He has struck out 53 and walked 7. At the big league level, he's allowed just 4 home runs in those 7 starts, and we know that the big leagues are very, very home run friendly place, but he just doesn't give up enough hard contact. It is not a stretch to sit here and look at Paul Skenes' outings and suggest he is not only holding his own, he is not only pitching well, he's dominating big league lineups. He has not gotten knocked around in any of his outings. His worst outing of the year was against the Dodgers. They're pretty good. He goes 5 innings in that game, 6 hits, 3 runs, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. That's the worst it's been against the Dodgers. And oh, by the way, his team won that game. And they're winning almost every time he starts. They have 1 loss in his 7 starts. They're 6-1 when he takes the mound. Beck, you just asked me off the air, do you think he could potentially be the Rookie of the Year? Absolutely. Wide Langford has a good start. Shota Imanaga for the Cubs, who you mentioned has been brilliant and has better numbers than Skenes and has pitched more than Skenes. But he could, if he continues this and continues to throw 6-7 innings at a start, doesn't walk anybody, his ERA is under 2.5. He could be the Rookie of the Year.
I almost feel like Skenes also just kind of his style of pitching also just kind of I think it gives him an edge over Imanaga, even though Imanaga has been awesome. He's not an exciting pitcher to watch, really. He throws low 90s. He's got a nice breaking ball, but Skenes is just a really exciting pitcher that everyone is talking about right now. People aren't really talking about Shota Imanaga too much. He's just kind of been really, really good, but not exciting. So I could definitely see if Skenes continues, even if he starts to taper off, which you may expect after teams have seen him and have a lot of film on him, and he'll probably start to regress a little bit. But I mean, that's not even for certain. But I still do believe. I agree with you. I think he's definitely got a great shot, just because of how exciting he is.
And it's just oppressive. He's suffocating the strike zone, not putting guys on base. So for you to score on him, you're gonna have to get 3 hits in an inning to really put a crooked number up, because he's not walking anybody, and he's throwing 100, and he's throwing that splinker at 95, and he's throwing a breaking ball, and he's not walking anybody. So it's just I don't know. I don't know that his entire career is going to be smooth sailing. There's obviously going to be a start here, start there that doesn't go very well. Those guys can really hit. But I just don't see him hitting some sort of wall or guys figuring him out. There's only so much figuring out you can do of 100 with command of 2 off-speed pitches. It just is what it is. It's 60 feet 6 inches. There's no time to react, and it's just really difficult to deal with. Jeff Passan, who is as respected a baseball writer as there is, especially a young one, was on Pat McAfee's show the other day, and he said, look, I'm not telling you that this is for sure, but I am telling you, if you had to start Game 7 of the World Series tonight, he's in the discussion to get that ball. Out of anyone in the world, he's in that discussion. And it just harkens back, and I feel like sometimes I have a broken record, but I have to realize that I hear everything I say, and that most of our audience doesn't hear most of what we say. They jump in here, there, when they're in the car, what they catch on the podcast. So when I repeat something 3 or 4 times, there's a chance that a lot of people are hearing it for the first time. We saw last year what it is like if a professional athlete plays the college kids. That's what it looks like, because Paul Skenes was ready when we were at the box for the regional or in Omaha for the College World Series. He was ready to pitch against the Dodgers that day. I'm not telling you he would have mowed him down. He could have hung in there. And that's not the case for all these guys. I would not have said that about Alex Lang, who was a great college pitcher. But Skenes was different. He was ready at that point to go now. And you can tell, like Dylan Cruz on the field.
Right.
Was Cruz ready? No, he's not. Because Dylan Cruz, last year, when he got the call up to Double-A at the end of his first professional year of playing, he played in 20 games, which is a small sample size, but he hit 208 in Double-A in 20 games. That doesn't mean he's a bust. It just means like he needed some reps with the wooden bat and the guys with better command and better arms, and he just needed some time.
And he might be the best hitter we've seen.
He's the best hitter I've ever seen.
Yeah,
at LSU.
exactly.
So that Skenes was at a different level. It doesn't mean that Cruz won't have a better professional career than Skenes. It doesn't. But it just in terms of what they were at LSU in May and June of their final year at LSU, Skenes was ready to pitch in the big leagues, and that's just something you just don't see very often. And Wyatt Langford, you can pretty much make that case for him too, because he popped up in the big leagues really quickly, and he's hit when he got up there. So he's had his bumps, no question. But, I mean, Langford hasn't been as good as Skenes, not by a long shot, but he was fairly ready to go up there and hit. So it's crazy how advanced the college game has gotten, really, across all sports, but certainly on the baseball side of things, pretty awesome stuff there. So that'll do it for our first hour here of Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Pluckers, and our baseball breakdowns are brought to you by Pluckers. If you missed any of the first hour, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. We're going to pause for Sports Center. Very, very excited for our next guest to kick off hour number 2. Derek Curiel just pulled his name out of the Major League Baseball draft. He's coming to Baton Rouge. We'll talk about that process and a lot more coming up on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Tonight could mark the second straight night a champion is crowned. Last night it was the Celtics winning their 18th NBA title. The Panthers can capture the first Stanley Cup in franchise history with a win over the Oilers in Game 5 of the final tonight, 8 Eastern on ABC. So the city of Boston is getting ready to hold its 13th championship parade since 2000. The rolling rally to laud the Celtics will be held Friday. They are the clear betting favorite to win again next season, plus 280 at ESPN Bet. Plenty of reasons why Boston can repeat, explains ESPN NBA analyst Andrea Carter.
They get everybody back. Obviously, Kristaps, we've already said he has to have surgery on that ankle, so depends on what he's going to look like coming back, but there would be no need to rush him back. So injury-free, they keep everybody together, which the Denver Nuggets didn't do after they won a championship. I think all of those things play into them potentially getting one next year.
Andrea Carter on First Take. NFL Browns GM Andrew Berry told the NFL Network's The Insiders quarterback Deshaun Watson's ahead of schedule in his rehab from shoulder surgery. Watson is entering a make-or-break third season in Cleveland.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Wednesday, Tatum and Brown finally got their title. So I'll tell you which star is now on the clock to win a championship. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Of course, this time of year, all eyes on the College World Series in Omaha, and quickly they turn to the Major League Baseball draft after that on All-Star Weekend. For us here in Baton Rouge, it's time to look at LSU signing class and see what potential signees may skip LSU and head to professional baseball. One that will not be doing that this year is Derek Curiel. Earlier this week, Derek announced he's going to formally withdraw his name from the NFL, NBA. Well, that's 0 for 2 there. NFL, NBA. That would be the MLB draft. Going to enroll in summer school and start his college career in Baton Rouge with fall ball coming up this fall. We're thrilled to have Derek on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Now joins us from California. Derek, how are you?
Hello. I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Doing really well. So walk me through this process. We're going to go back a little bit here in a second, but let's walk through this process very recently where you decided, I don't think this time was right for professional baseball. We're going to go ahead and go to school. What was that process like? Who did you lean on, and how did you arrive at that decision?
A big factor in my decision is having Coach Jay Johnson there as the head coach. Me and Jay Johnson have had a relationship since I was in 7th grade. He's obviously a great coach and has done great things in Baton Rouge, and I'd love to play for a coach and a man like him. And going to watch that Texas A&M series, I flew out to go watch it, and it was electric, and I was like, this is where I want to be, and this is the place where I feel like I'll develop best over the next 2 to 3 years.
That's awesome. I want to talk about that as well. But you mentioned you've known Jay Johnson since you were in 7th grade. You've been a very, very high-profile recruit and prospect in the baseball world for a very long time. How has it been kind of growing up in that environment where it's kind of been all eyes on you for a very, very long time, not like you're just your junior year at high school?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've been on the horizon for, like you said, since I was like in 7th grade, and for me, it's kind of just the same old thing now, and I've kind of gotten used to it, and I like it. The attention, the standards I have to meet, I think it's just good for me, and it's just fun.
So I know that you played the same high school that Mikey Romero played at. He's 2 years older than you, and he was signed with LSU, had a great relationship with Jay Johnson, was a first-round pick of the Red Sox, and has moved on. I'm curious if you had a chance to talk to him about this process, as he was a highly thought-of recruit from right there in your backyard.
Yeah, honestly, me and him were good friends. I got to see how he went about his business and how the path he took, and I saw his path he took, and obviously he's doing great. But I just felt the right path for me was to go to college and develop, because I feel like that's where baseball's going to start leaning towards. And that was kind of just my decision, but I'm super happy for him and what he's done.
So let's talk about the recruiting process and your decision to sign with LSU. You mentioned coming out for the Texas A&M series. Was that the first time you'd ever been to Baton Rouge?
No, sir. I've actually been to Baton Rouge 3 separate times since 2022. I went on my unofficial visit the first time to go to like a kind of camp thing, and then my second time was my official visit. And then this last time, me and my dad had just flown out just because we wanted to see the SEC baseball in person. Because the other 2 times we went were for football and in the off season.
So tell me your impressions of SEC baseball, if that was your first look at it.
That was probably the best series of all of college baseball the whole year. So it was super, super cool. Obviously, we were able to win 2 of 3 in that series, and that kept our playoff hopes alive. And it was just super cool to see how much the fans are into it, and it's just a great environment to play in, and that's where I want myself to be. So that's why I picked LSU.
Now, this is just me talking, but I've seen a shift in a lot of players from the West Coast coming to the Southeastern Conference in the ACC. We understand that the Pac-12 is dissolved, and a lot of those teams are now playing in the Big Ten. Have you seen from your part of the world, from California and the West Coast, a lot of young players that want to come to the Southeast?
100%. I mean, I think everyone knows it, but California has the best high school baseball, and it's very competitive, and I think that we like the competitiveness. And in college baseball, it's the opposite. The best competition is in the SEC, and I think us California boys like the competition, and we want to play against the best. And I think that's why we like to make our way over there, because there's no place like the SEC, and there's no place like Louisiana.
Chatting with Derek Curiel, a member of this 2024 LSU baseball signing class, has formally pulled his name out of the draft. It's going to come in summer school, and he'll be a member of the Fighting Tiger baseball program here very, very soon. I'm curious how close you've gotten to be with some of the members of your signing class. It's obviously got a lot of really, really high-profile high school players and a lot of guys that are going to have some decisions to make, like you did over the next month and a half or so. I'm curious how close y'all have all gotten.
Yeah, we have a little group chat and we like to talk. Obviously, this is probably one of the better recruiting classes LSU has had. It's been great to know all these guys. We've known each other throughout the summer circuit, and it's cool to see the path these guys are taking. And obviously, I hope a lot of them make it out to campus too, so we can compete for a national championship.
Is there a guy or two that you've become more close with as this process has gone on?
Yeah, I mean, I've known Kate Aaron Beatty since we were about 9 years old. We've always played against each other. He's obviously a great catcher. I hope he can make it out to LSU. And then my roommate, Connor Griffin, me and him got to get close over the years. We were teammates on Team USA. We were able to be roommates at some USA events, play against each other. And I hope that me and him are able to play the outfield together. And I hope that a lot of the pitchers, William Schmidt, Maverick Rizzi, all of them are able to make it down to LSU, but obviously I'm pretty close with all of them, and this is a really nice recruiting class.
It certainly is. Tell us about your game. What are some of your strengths and some of the things that you need to potentially work on as you get ready to start your college career?
So some things I need to work on is just getting a little bit bigger. Some guys have gotten their man body, and that, quite frankly, isn't me yet, but I'm working on that. So I know I need to do that for college baseball, but also some of my strengths are I help my team win. I get on base, I score, I'm able to track it down good in center field, and I got pretty good bat-to-ball skills. I'm not going to strike out too much. I'll put the ball in play and then score, and if you score, you win. So that's how I help my team out.
Let's talk about the next couple of months for you. I know that you mentioned in your post that summer school is coming up. When does that start, and when are you headed to Baton Rouge?
I'm heading to Baton Rouge July 5th, and then summer school officially starts July 8th. And then I will be there, I believe, till August 10th, and then I come home for about 10 days, and then I'm back out there August 25th.
Awesome. We're looking forward to it. A lot of people are really, really fired up when you put that announcement on social media. This place is ready to get back to Omaha, and I know you'll be part of the next trip up there. We're thrilled to have you, and we appreciate you coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Go Tigers. He's
Derek Curiel from down there in Southern California. His story is a very, very interesting one, and that was a great answer that he just gave. Derek Curiel has been on the radar nationally for a very long time. And he was a tall youngster early in his high school career, and he's still tall. He's like 6'2", but he has, as he just mentioned, like he has not completely filled out. So because of that, he hasn't hit for a ton of power. And we know this time of year, you're looking at projectability, and power is a premium tool. And potentially he can grow into that in 2 or 3 years at LSU. He will be a draft-eligible sophomore when he comes to college. And the thought is, if he fills out and he can still run like that in center field, adds power to his game, all of a sudden this is a guy that's got premium tools and can go towards the top end of the draft. But right now, he doesn't quite have that yet, which makes it the perfect situation for a college baseball player and a college program to develop him. And that's why I think Jay Johnson's going to be thrilled to have him. He's a good athlete. He runs really well. He really hits the ball. As he mentioned, his bat-to-ball skills are very, very good. The power just hasn't come for him yet, and that's okay. Hopefully it comes right down Nicholson Drive there here over the next 2 or 3 years. We were thrilled to have him. I watched a YouTube video of him doing an interview from 2 years ago when he was a sophomore, and Mikey Romero was a senior on that team. And I immediately knew, like, this kid's definitely going to be good on the radio, because I can hear 2 years ago he would have been good on the radio, and he was fantastic. That was a great interview, and I'm thrilled that Derek could come on and share some of that information. He sounds super, super excited, and that's a guy that Jay Johnson's fired up to get into his baseball program here in the next couple of weeks. That's Derek Curiel. If you missed any of that interview, you can always catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find your sound, you can find that if you jumped in and heard it a little bit late. But that guy's going to be a heck of a player here in South Louisiana. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, LSU going into the transfer portal, made an addition today. I'll tell you who that is, where I think he fits in, and what things are starting to look like as this roster is morphing into shape. We're not a finished product by any stretch of the imagination, but it's getting there, and we'll show you what I think about some of that coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio, video, security solutions, avssla.com. What do? It's all right there in the name. They can handle your audio. They've done that at my home, got the speakers in the kitchen and outside in the back, but they can do it wherever you'd like, all over your home. Got the video. They helped mount all of our televisions when we moved. They can do that. They can supply televisions as well and set up your home entertainment system to be the best. It can make your place the place to watch games this fall. And they can handle security as well. They've done that for us. They've got our cameras set up. They've got the sensors on all the windows and the doors, and we can check it all right there on our phone via the app. They were fantastic to work with. Mitchell Fisher and his team are first class, and they're right here in the Baton Rouge area. Mitchell's cell phone number, 225-439-7920, 225-439-7920. Let them handle your audio. Let them handle your video. Let them handle your security. And check them out online. It's avssla.com. They're on Instagram at avss_BR. People's Choice Award for the best vendor at the Parade of Homes earlier this year. It's just quality and fantastic service. It's audio, video, security solutions, avssla.com.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Moscone.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Shea Dixon after a busy recruiting weekend, and LSU transfer pitcher Zach Cohen. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Join 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge at the Texas Club Friday night for Rockstar Search Battle of the Louisiana Bands, presented by Parrish Construction and Roofing. We've chosen 5 incredible bands from throughout the state to battle it out for a chance to open for Kenny Wayne Shepherd's July 13th show at the Raising Cane's River Center. The doors open at 7, and the first band will go on at 8 p.m. Tickets are just $20 at the door. For tickets and other information, visit thetexasclub.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Really enjoyed that conversation with Derek Curiel that we just had. I was telling Beck and Cassie off air, like you never really know with high schoolers when you get them on what you're going to get. Sometimes they're that good, like Derek was, and sometimes they're a little nervous. And that's completely understandable. No one ever asked me to do an interview when I was in high school, and I don't think that would have gone very well. But Derek did a fantastic job, and we're fired up to get him down to Baton Rouge. I think he's going to be a heck of a player in purple and gold. Speaking of coming down to Baton Rouge, Jay Johnson continues to work the transfer portal, and he did earlier today, securing a commitment from Auburn outfielder Chris Stanfield. Now, Chris Stanfield is a player I'm familiar with. He's been at Auburn for 2 years, pretty high level recruit, and it's interesting because he would be thought of, I think, as a real toolsy, high-level ceiling prospect coming out of high school, and I kind of look at him as a high floor ad for LSU. Chris Stanfield, I don't think, is going to come in and bottom out. You've seen some guys transfer and it doesn't translate. You're not going to have to worry about that with Chris Stanfield. He's played 2 years at Auburn. This past year in SEC games only, he hit 283. He had an on-base percentage of of 339. There's not a lot of pop in his bat. He had 2 SEC home runs, and he never had more than 5 in his 2 seasons at Auburn for a season. So it's not a guy with a ton of pop, but he's a good athlete. He runs well. He can defend in the outfield, and he got on base at a reasonable clip. You look at it, and I know batting average is not the end-all, be-all, but just for comparison's sake, like Stanfield in 29 SEC games this year, so playing throughout the SEC slate, he hit 283. You look at LSU, that would have been 4th on LSU's team in league games. That's better than Jared Jones, albeit with far fewer home runs than slug. Better than Milam, better than Travinsky, better than Pearson, better than Bingham, better than Milazzo, better than Kling, better than Fry, better than Neal, better than Brown. He was better than all those guys in league play in terms of batting average. If you can get a similar progression that Michael Braswell got coming from a different SEC school and maybe not tick it up just a little bit more, and potentially you've got a 295 SEC hitter that maybe hits 5 league home runs instead of 2, like that, and plus defender, like that's a fine player. He's a high floor ad in my opinion. This is not Tommy White. This is not Jacob Berry. This is not. I don't expect him to have some sort of Braden Joubert type production. Like what you've got here is a high floor player who can absolutely save you runs in center field, who can absolutely handle SEC pitching, but I don't think he's going to be a first-team all-league player. That would surprise me if he came in and did that. And my concern with this LSU team remains. I wonder where the pop's going to come from. And I know that there's a lot of you that hear that and go, I'm sick of a guys trying to hit home runs. You got to manufacture runs to win games. And yes, it helps to execute offensively. Shoot the ball through the hole with 2 strikes and to get a bunt down when it has to happen and to make sure that you hit that sac fly with a runner on third and less than 2 outs. That's all really important. And all that is situational, and it comes up at random points over the course of a game. But when I talk about the big sample size of 30 games and not the one at bat here or there, talent and production over a course of time is going to win that day, and I need some guys that can jump the yard. Like, it's just too hard to deal with these aces on Fridays and these ridiculous bullpen arms, trying to rely on getting 4 hits in an inning because you got some guys that can really grind at bats. I'd really like it if one guy could just run into one. And as I look across specifically the outfield, I'm looking at this going, do I have a lot of power? And Stanfield's not going to help that. Pearson, I would not be fall on the floor shocked if Josh Pearson hit 14 home runs next year. Like I could see that absolutely. How many did he hit this year? I know in SEC games, Josh Pearson only hit 2, but I think he was better than that for the entirety of the season. Pearson hit 8. I think Josh Pearson could hit 14 home runs, like I do, but I can't count on that. And I don't think Jake Brown is going to hit 14 home runs, and I don't think Chris Stanfield is going to hit 14. And we just talked to Curiel, Derek Curiel, and he's not going to hit 14 home runs. And I don't think Ashton Larson is going to hit 14 home runs. And Ethan Fry hasn't shown me that he can do that either. Now, he's got the biggest frame and the biggest body. I know a lot of people wanted Ethan Fry to get big at bats late in the season, and I'm kind of looking at it going, like, what have you seen that indicates that he definitely warrants that? I mean, this past year, he was 13 out of 57. He hit 228. I mean, I know that, like, he got hurt and he's missed time, and he hasn't gotten the, 4 straight weeks of consistent at-bats that a lot of these guys have gotten. So I'm not telling you can't do it, but he's been on campus for 2 years now, and that's what I have. For me to sit here and go, yeah, that's just because he's 6'3", 220, and has really good frame, yeah, he can hit 18 home runs. Like, I don't know if I'm right there with you. So I just went, and the outfield is where you can put some power. I mean, what Stephen Milam gives you in power, that'd be great. Braswell's not going to hit for power if he comes back. And so now I'm looking at, well, where can I put the home runs? I got Luis Hernandez, and he's either going to play first or catcher or third or DH. He hasn't really played third at Indiana State. He's been a first baseman and a catcher and a DH. But he can hit some home runs. I mean, he's already put that on tape. But I'm running out of places where I can get my 15-homer guy. And we'll see if Cale Fountain, who is the Nebraska all-time high school home run hitter, comes in and wins the third base job, and as a freshman, just bashes 15 homers. It could happen. Jared Jones showed up ready to hit home runs. Like, it can happen. Trevor Schmidt hit a lot of home runs in JUCO. Maybe that's a guy that hits me 17 if he gets enough at bats. Maybe Blaze Priester comes in at catcher and has some pop. But, you're counting on unproven home run hitters to be that. And I kind of felt like before the transfer portal opens, you're just dreaming at this point. You have no idea who's going in and who's not. And there was a time there where I thought Ethan Petrie was going to be in there, and that's a proven home run hitter. I got feeling Coach Maneri's not going to be thrilled if I'm talking about him coming to Baton Rouge. But, like, that's the kind of guy that I thought LSU could add. And I'm spoiled because they added Jacob Berry and they added Tommy White. And that's kind of what I thought. Not necessarily the national freshman of the year and the guy that set the record for the most home runs hit by a freshman in college baseball history. That's a little ambitious, but I thought there was a pretty good chance that LSU could grab a Big 12 or ACC bat that hit 22 homers. Like, I thought that was realistic, and maybe it is. I don't know every single player in the transfer portal. But to this point, you've got a guy that did it at a lower level in the Valley, and you got freshmen or JUCO guys that may have that potential. But I'm looking for a little more home run thump. And hopefully that shows up. It's not going to be from Stanfield, but I feel like that's a guy that I think you've upgraded over Paxton Kling there. And again, even that coming out of my mouth, I don't like denigrating college athletes, but my job here is to tell you what I think about the situation in the roster, and I think Chris Stanfield's a better SEC player than Paxton Kling. And so I think you've upgraded there. He may not run quite as well, but he hits better, and he runs well enough. So we'll see what continues to happen in the portal and what LSU is able to do with some ads. I'd like to see a third baseman with some power. I'd like to see a shortstop with some power. Even a DH that's got to sit on the bench for half the game, but he comes up and hits 22 home runs. Like, if you can find that guy. I'm operating right now under the assumption that Jaron Jones will not be back. If he is, I'll be super pumped about it. I just saw a video on Twitter. He's at that showcase. There is nobody at that place that was more made for a showcase than Jaron Jones, because they're going to throw him batting practice, and he's going to hit it 1 billion feet. So we'll see. That power tool, especially the opposite field, I think is going to entice somebody to make it happen. If he comes back and plays first base, you've alleviated a lot of my concerns. Because if Jared Jones comes back, he's going to hit 20 homers. I have no doubt in my mind he will hit 20 homers, and that's a big deal. The question is, will he come back? And if he doesn't, what does this look like? If I all of a sudden have Luis Hernandez and Jared Jones as my DH first baseman, okay, I feel like the rest of the power can come on, and I can make do with Pearson and Milam and Fry and Larson and Priester. Like that, I'll find enough homers there. But that Jones hole's a big one, and they haven't quite filled it, I don't think, to this point, unless Luis Hernandez is just getting started. But we'll see. Our baseball breakdowns all season long are brought to you by Pluckers. I'll be at Pluckers tonight. Fired up, sports trivia, 8:30, Nicholson location. There's always an LSU round. If you want to come out, you can come out with a team. You can come out by yourself, win gift cards, drink some cold beers. I guess the NHL will be on. I don't know that college baseball is going to be playing and the NBA is done. I'll be watching the Cubs, probably in misery. But either way, it's a fun time. So come on out tonight. Nicholson location, 8:30. We'll have you out of there by 10 o'clock. We'll take a time out. When we come back, Sharif Ishak talking Saints, specifically a little more Alvin Kamara. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about my friends at Boudreaux's Electric. It's all about peace of mind. Give yourself the peace of mind of knowing that you're not going to lose power. Storms are inevitable. They're going to come through, whether it's these afternoon hellacious thunderstorms we get that are gone in 15 minutes but can knock your power out for a day, or the hurricanes that we know can come through at this time of year at this part of the world. If you have a Generac home standby generator, you're protected from those power outages, and Boudreaux's Electric is the place that you need to get that Generac home standby generator. You're never going to hear me talk about a VIP deal with Boudreaux's Electric. Pay more money, get these services. Nope. You just pay what you pay for the generator, and everybody is treated like a VIP. That's the way that Neil and Melissa Boudreaux run business. That's the way Justin Boudreaux runs the business. So give them a call. It's 985-397-1562. Check them out online, boudreauxelectrical.com, and get that appointment set up today so that you're not sitting in the dark in a hot house and realize, I really should have gotten that generator put in. Make it happen with the friends at Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile.
For the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch, live at Roca Pizzeria on Government Street in Mid-City. 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Wednesday, Roca Pizzeria. Live at Lunch, live at Roca, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Boston Celtics lifted the trophy last night. They're the NBA champions. Are the Pelicans going to win the title next year, Sharif?
I sure hope so. I mean, I can't stomach if Texas A&M wins in baseball and the Pelicans never win a championship, because we're one win away from having a chance to see Texas A&M do that.
Yeah, Sharif Ishak's our guest from WDSU down in New Orleans. I've talked about this very openly. I've mentioned it multiple times on the show and on Twitter. Every single college World Series game, they played 8 of them, have broken against me, and we're looking at a nightmare scenario here.
Yeah, I mean, look, at least one of the two teams that I don't want to win is going to get eliminated.
Yeah, two teams can't win the College World Series. That's not going to happen.
No, Florida and Texas A&M can't both win. So there's one that I don't mind if Tennessee wins. They don't bother me as much as a lot of LSU fans are bothered by Tennessee. They're a good team. I'm fine with them winning. I can't let Texas A&M win. I love Nolan Cain, but Texas A&M can't
I'm
win.
with you. Like, Tony Vitello is tough to root for. I mean, the guy's pretty brash, and he's been suspended multiple times, and like he's not the nicest guy on the block when it comes to college baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like his players, though, man. I like Christian Moore, man. I like the way
Christian
he
Moore's
plays
good.
baseball. I just like the way he's like, dude. They're just good players. I just like the way they play. I just see that it's a different little occasion with a situation with him. But the players I'm fine with. But let me tell you what.
Look over the last 4 years, and you talk about they were in Omaha a couple of years, 4 years ago, and then they had the best team that I've ever seen 3 years ago. They got to Omaha again last year, and then they're right there on the door of the championship series this year. Like, you can't argue that anybody's been better over the last 4 years than Tennessee. There's no doubt.
And they're possibly going to be the first number 1 seed to win it since Miami in '99.
99,
that
yeah.
would I think that probably might make a few people mad since I don't think LSU. When's the last time we were the number 1 seed? I can't even remember.
It's been a long time since LSU was the 1 seed. Yeah.
I don't care. You know what? As long as we have 7 national championships, none of those schools are catching LSU.
That is true. That's a good feeling. Hopefully we get number 8 next year because I'm ready to do that again. All right, let's talk about the Saints. Alvin Kamara left camp, and obviously it's contract related. What do you think the outcome is of that situation?
Well, it's a tricky situation because you brought in Clint Kubiak and you essentially kind of built that offense around, a bunch of the weapons, specifically the Christian McCaffrey type of player, and that would be Alvin Kamara. I do think something's going to happen. I do think they're going to, at some point, extend him in maybe like the $7-8 million range a year. I understand he's going to be 29 next month, and the shelf life of a running back isn't that long. I will say that he does a good job of taking care of himself. Never hasn't had that major injury, that's knocked him out an entire season. I still think he's an effective person in the offense. I think he's going to be even more effective in Clint Kubiak's offense, which gives him the leverage here because you have an unproven running back in Kendre Miller, who's couldn't stay on the field, and then Jamal Williams is your power back. And I think they need Alvin, and they need him in a bad way in this offense. So I think it gets resolved. I think it gets resolved before training camp.
So you think they're going to add another year to that contract and add 2 more years to that contract and pay him?
I think that they're maybe looking at it maybe a year or two, maybe 2 for 16, 2 for 15, something that works for both sides because I think he understands where the market is for running backs these days. I mean, I know McCaffrey they're the same draft class, and McCaffrey got $19.5 million a year. He's been playing much better than Alvin in the recent years, and the stats will back it up. But I still think that he's so important to the offense. You can't just let him sit out the entire training camp and not learn the offense and just come in cold. You need him out there for training camp. The whole offense needs him out there for training camp. So I think we are looking at a situation where he has a little bit of leverage. They need him. They need him a lot. So I think he'll be back. Look, if it bleeds into training camp a week, that's fine. I mean, look, Drew Brees missed an entire training camp. I know that's Drew Brees, but they need Alvin. They need Alvin this year desperately, knowing that Dennis Allen, this is a year for him. He needs to have a big year as a coach.
Well, let me play devil's advocate then, because you say they need him, and I would contend that, yes, he makes them better, 100%. However, do you need to pay him beyond his year 30 season with 2 more years on this contract? Is that smart money being spent by a team that's trying to get out of salary cap issues?
And then you make a great point there because this year he's getting $10 million, and I think next year he'd be like a $20-something million cap hit, which isn't going to happen. So that's why I think that they need to make something work to flush the cap out a little bit. And you're right. You're right. They got to, like I've said this many times, they got to start thinking about the future. But you also have to think about the now. And if you don't win now, then you're blowing the whole thing up after this year. So I think that, they got to figure something out. Because if you were going to get rid of him, you were going to get rid of him this year before the season started. So now you're in a situation where you have to keep him. I mean, you don't have to, but you kind of have to, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm curious your thoughts. I often talk about the calendar and how optimism is infused in every offseason, no matter what sport or what program or what franchise. It's just that's what the time of year is where you're not losing games. Everyone's going to feel good about your draft picks and your free agent signings, your recruiting class, or your new coach. And in this case, the Saints have a new coordinator, and everything seemed to be positive coming out of minicamp about the offense. Are you buying into that?
Yeah, look, I give a little optimism. I'm not going to be like I was last year. I was like, this looks like a 11-12 win team. You have to temper the expectations a little bit just because of what happened last year. It's fair to criticize Carr, but it's also fair to give him a little cushion this offseason because of a new offensive coordinator, which I think will work wonders for his game and for the rest of the offense. I'm going to temper the expectations this year just because I want to see what they're like through training camp in the first couple of preseason games. And it's also fine to be excited. And I know some Saints fans, a lot of them actually, aren't excited about this year and the team just because they've missed the playoffs 3 straight years. So I think it's fair either side that you're on. It's fair to be upset. It's fair to have low expectations, and it's also fair to be a little excited with Clint Kubiak. I just think there's something that's going to be in the works that I think that's going to be nice for this offense. You kind of saw glimpses of it. I understand it's voluntary and a mandatory minicamp, but you can kind of see glimpses of things kind of opening up that you didn't see under Pete Carmichael with Clint Kubiak. So it's there. The optimism is there, but we won't know until they actually start playing real games, not the preseason games, but at least you see a little bit in the preseason when they start hitting the pads.
I feel like that there's still going to be people that get excited based on practice and preseason reports. That's just the way that things go that time of year. We kind of wade through the barren nature of the summer, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's football. And we're like, oh, this is really going to be awesome. And we saw everybody went nuts when the Saints went right down the field in the preseason game last year. I feel like they do that again this year. It's like everyone's going to go nuts again.
It might be a different feeling because it isn't Pete Carmichael's archaic offense versus Clint Kubiak's modern offense. So it would feel a little bit better if they marched down the field a few times in the preseason games. You're like, okay, maybe they have something here. Maybe they have something that they can build on and, give something to fans to be excited about this year. And maybe give Derek Carr a little cushion, a little relief that, fans won't pile on him all the time. So, but once again, Hunt, it's all going to depend on the guys up front. You don't know who's going to be there. Who's going to be the consistent starters, how that's going to work out, the health of the team. It's always the thing with the team, being healthy. So I would say they have the pieces in terms of the weapons, the young weapons, and the quarterback, but it all depends up front, if they can make it work with those guys on the offensive line.
What are the percent chances out of 100 that Ryan Ramczyk plays for the Saints this year?
I'm probably at 10%.
10, okay.
I know that seems very low. Whenever you hear Dennis Allen say, it wasn't this past week, maybe it was last week during mandatory minicamp, can't remember him saying no progress. It's pretty much the same as it was when he was asked about it a month ago. So that worries me, and a guy who was a all-pro, Pro Bowler, and mainstay along that offensive line just can't get healthy. That needs that bad. So now you're going to have to rely on Trevor, Fuaga, Ruiz, Saldiveri, and McCoy, and anybody else that's behind in terms of depth. So those are your guys for now, and it looks like those are going to be the guys whenever the season starts.
All right, Sharif, we'll talk next week. Thanks, man.
All right, go anybody but Aggies and Gators. I'll take my Noles. Let them win their first national championship.
We'll see. They're up 3-1 right now. He's Sharif Ishak, WDSU down there in New Orleans, as I mentioned. Florida State 3, North Carolina 1 as they play up there at Charles Schwab Field in Omaha. The loser will head home for the summer. Winner gets a date with the Tennessee Vols, and they'll have to beat them twice to get into the championship round. Of course, LSU did this very thing last year, so we'll see what the result is here. I've mentioned this a couple times on today's show, but I'll toss it back out there again. The weather forecast for Omaha tonight does not look good at all, so we'll see what the result is there if they're able to get that night game in. But right now, they're able to play, and these two ACC teams going at it in the top of the 5th inning up there in Nebraska. All right, one more segment to go. You're listening to a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about Evolve Physical Therapy. Robbie Bolton, been a physical therapist almost 20 years. They're at Starring near Highland Road, and this is the physical therapy clinic in Baton Rouge. They offer hands-on active stretching. Don't pay cash to somebody to go get stretched out. Instead, maybe use your insurance to go see a licensed physical therapist to get stretched out and feeling better. The joint manipulations, maybe you woke up, got a crick in your neck or in your lower back and just can't seem to get comfortable, certainly can't do active things, but maybe you're just sore at work and not able to perform like you normally would. Go see Robbie Bolton and the team over at Evolve Physical Therapy. For that, they can do some soft tissue manipulation, some dry needling, some cupping, isokinetic testing. you're looking to get back on the field, whether a youth athlete or a 65-year-old that wants to get out and play some more golf, go see Robbie Bolton. Once he sees you, he's going to see you forever. Again, Evolve Physical Therapy, the physical therapy clinic in town. They're at evolvept.com and on Starring near Highland Road. evolvept.com, evolvept.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045espn.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Shea Dixon after a busy recruiting weekend, and LSU transfer pitcher Zach Cohen. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
So here's an announcement from the College World Series. They are not even going to try tonight. The weather just looks awful in Omaha, so they have postponed tonight's game between Florida and Kentucky to tomorrow. So here's how tomorrow's schedule is going to work up in Omaha. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Florida and Kentucky will play an elimination game. After that, Tennessee will play the winner of the game that's going on right now between North Carolina and Florida State at 2. Tennessee just needs to win one more game. After that game is complete, A&M will play the winner of the morning game between Florida and Kentucky. So either Florida or Kentucky, if they want to get to Thursday, they're going to have to win 2 games tomorrow. The 10 a.m. game where they play each other and then go beat A&M this evening. This is the benefit if you're in the winner's bracket. You're 2-0, you basically call the shots, and you get the advantage here that the teams that you've got to play are going to have to play a game the day they come play you. And that obviously compromises your bullpen. It shrinks everything down. They certainly get today off, so we'll see how that goes. But those teams are going to have to play 9 innings and then come back and play 9 more against Texas A&M. If either A&M or Tennessee wins tomorrow, they are in the championship series. So Florida State continues to add on to their lead. They lead North Carolina 6-1 now. So it looks like Florida State will play Tennessee tomorrow at 2 o'clock. But we'll see as this thing moves forward. They're getting all those hits off that good left-handed reliever from North Carolina, who was really tough on LSU and has been tough on just about everybody in the postseason. But Florida State playing great, and they are in control of the only game that we'll see from Omaha today. So that's your update from the College World Series. Beck, let's play Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Team USA is set for the Paris Olympics. Specifically, the golf team for USA, Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, both major champions this year. Wyndham Clark, U.S. Open champion last year, and Colin Morikawa will tee it up for the Stars and Stripes. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. That's about as good a team as we could send there from the players that we deem eligible. Bryson's not eligible to play. He's clearly, in my opinion, the second or third best U.S. golfer, but he's not made enough points in world ranking points to get there. So it's not a situation where we're worried about COVID, where we had to send Ricky Fowler down there. This is about as good a team as we could send out there. I don't know where they're playing or what the format is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the course is. I think it's in Paris, but I'm not sure.
Do they play in Le Golf National where they had the Ryder Cup?
It might be, actually. Now that you say that, I think you might be right.
It was a fine course. They tricked it up so the Europeans had a huge advantage, and they cut the fairways to nothing, and we had no chance. But I think that's about as good as we can do with the guys they've deemed eligible. And so I love the Olympics, but I don't watch a lot of traditional sports in the Olympics. Like I don't watch a ton of tennis. I don't watch a ton of golf. And even I do like to watch the basketball, and I think the basketball will be more competitive this time around because the world's kind of caught up to us. But it's that 2 weeks. Like, I like watching volleyball. I like watching water polo. I like watching swimming. I love watching swimming. I tend to watch more of that stuff than I do the traditional stuff. But if the golf's on, I might flip it on.
It will be at the same
Le Golf National?
It will be there. Yep. All right, moving on. Pat McAfee has reportedly not signed a new deal with College Game Day for the upcoming season. McAfee on game day, take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I don't think he's revolutionized the show, but I do appreciate his energy. I do think he prepares. It's not like he's just up there to make fart jokes and swear on camera. He does bring some football sense to the show. He does a good job with his video breakdowns. And look, I think it's cool. I'm just as entertained, probably more so entertained, by them pulling some moron student out of the crowd to try to kick a field goal than I am them really breaking down the Wisconsin-Penn State game. Do I really need to hear that much info about Wisconsin-Penn State? I don't. So I'm good with having McAfee do some of that. It's not like it's just the Pat McAfee show, because you do have Herb Street, who's giving you a lot of really good stuff. You do have Desmond Howard on there. I think Reese Davis is a great host, and they bring on some guests. And I think the show is good, and I think McAfee is an addition to it. I don't think he's a takeover, and I don't think that he's revolutionized things. I'm just good with McAfee, bringing his style, which is a little bit different, to a show that you could suggest maybe got a little bit stale, doing the same thing over and over and over again. So how do you feel about McAfee on there?
I think he's good. I agree with you. The field goal thing is a nice bit, and you're right as well. I think he does also prepare. I don't think he just shows up and doesn't give any kind of effort.
Oh, look at my sleeveless shirt that I'm wearing, and I'm yelling and screaming.
Right.
He's not just a carnival act.
Yep, I agree. All right, moving on. The PGA Tour has amended a long-standing rule that states you are disqualified for signing an incorrect scorecard. Now a player will have a 15-minute grace period to make a correction after signing the scorecard. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. That's fine. I don't think there's going to be a lot of instances of guys flagrantly cheating and signing for the wrong score. They're all on ShotLink. They're all got markers. They all it's just. This was a mistake by Jordan Spieth back at Riviera. This is what happened, and Xander was playing with him that day and said he was sick. He darted off the green and had to go to the bathroom. Apparently he had to get to the toilet. That's just the way it went. And he realized very quickly after and tried to go back, but he'd already signed it, so he got DQ'd from Riv. I think that at a certain point in the 1920s, you could probably cheat. That's going to be real tough now with a bunch of rules officials that are in their chairs watching from 500 miles
every
away.
tournament televised.
Yeah, and so I think that they've come to their senses here on some of this stuff. I was bummed out to see Neil Shipley call a penalty on himself on Saturday. It was Saturday or Sunday?
I think it was Saturday.
Saturday of the U.S. Open. Like, that's the great sportsmanship of golf and all that kind of, like, whatever. But this is fine. If you make a mistake, you got a little time to go back and correct it. And I think it prevents what happened at Riv from happening moving forward.
Last one here. Fresh off their 18th title, the Boston Celtics are the clear-cut champion favorites in Vegas to repeat as champs in 2025. Their odds currently at plus 280. Back-to-back titles for the C's. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. There's a lot of really good teams, a lot of really good players. I think the Celtics were the best team this year. I also think they caught injury breaks in every round of the playoffs, just about. Every round they had.
They will be
that
returning. They will be returning pretty much everybody.
Yes, so they're very good.
Yeah, and they're really good. So I think they should be the favorites, but taking one team against the field's tough.
I would certainly take the field in that instance. So I read that the Celtics, they're having their parade like Friday, I think.
Yeah.
They flew to Miami at noon today. So I don't know how late they were up last night. Probably pretty late. I'm sure that airplane scene was quite a scene.
Yes.
And I think that's great if you want to get on the plane and head to Miami and soak it in after a long. I mean, the playoffs are long, man. The Pels played postseason games.
Yep. That was like a year ago.
That was a long time ago. So yeah, you want to get out of Miami and not sleep a whole bunch? I'm all for it. For the Celtics, that's good on them. 18th championship for the C's. Pels winning it next year.
Yep.
Maybe not.
Plus 6,000 right now.
Perfect. How quickly can I get 10 grand down on that? All right, let's tell you what we did today. College World Series thoughts at the top of the show. It's been a nightmare thus far. Alvin Kamara, maybe a Saints training camp holdout. I gave my thoughts on that at 1:15. Glenn West at 1:30 talking a lot of LSU baseball. Paul Skenes absolutely cooking at the big league level. Dylan Cruz headed up to AAA. Great conversation to kick off hour number 2 with Derek Curiel, LSU baseball signee, who has pulled his name out of the draft and is going to come to Baton Rouge to play his college baseball starting here in a couple of weeks when he does some summer school here. He had a great conversation with us at 2 o'clock. Sharif Ishak at 2:30 talking Saints as well. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further Review coming up next. We're back same time, same place tomorrow. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event.